Today's conversation is one that you don't want to miss. I'm sitting down with Sarah Lingle, a pregnancy after loss doula, wife, and mama. Sarah shares her story about navigating miscarriage, infertility, and ultimately finding hope again through charting, advocacy, and support. We talk about why language like loss is still birth matters, how cycle knowledge can literally change outcomes, and how the compassionate ways families can be cared for in the hardest seasons. This episode is tender, real, and full of hope. I can't wait for you to listen in. Welcome to the Cyclical Doula podcast. I'm Emma, a certified Sympto-Pro instructor, a fertility awareness educator, and your guide to fertility coaching and reproductive health education from menarche to menopause and all the different types of motherhood in between. If you're seeking a natural, science-backed approach to managing your fertility, understanding your cycle, or simply connecting with your body in a new way, you're in the right place. Each episode is designed to empower you with the tools, knowledge, and confidence you need to thrive in your unique journey. Quick disclaimer, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice or individualized charting support. For specific guidance, please consult with your healthcare provider or fertility awareness instructor. Now, let's dive into today's topic.
Welcome to the space where cycles breathe, where the real raw life of a mama leads. From motherhood's highs to charting the low, your body's story is the star of the show. Matriarch heart.
Well, welcome. Today I have Sarah with me, and she is a pregnancy after loss doula. So, Sarah, I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you. We had met in a content makeover retreat in Austin, and it was so fun to hang out together then. But we haven't seen each other since, now being in September. So, I am excited to talk with you and just kind of hear more about what you're doing in this season.
Yeah, it's funny to just think about how much life has changed in
I
those
know,
9 months,
right?
whatever it is.
In these 9 months, yeah.
I was like 13 or 14 weeks pregnant, and now I'm holding that baby and
Yes.
all the crazy stuff. So, yeah, so my name is Sarah, and I live in the mountains of Western North Carolina, kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm married. My husband's name is Colton, and he is the best. He owns a construction company, so I work part-time for his construction company doing all the content, the blog and social media and email stuff. And we're getting ready to start a podcast for his company. So I'm doing a lot of the behind the scenes of that. So that's what I get to do in my days. I work from home, so I have a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old, and so I work from home and mom and all of that. And then I also am a doula. You mentioned that, and we can talk about that more later if you want, but I specialize in bereavement and in pregnancy after loss. And yeah, that's who I am. When I'm not busy working, which is pretty much always, I'm either being a mom or I'm working. And in those very rare free moments, I like to read. I like to go hiking with my family. Yeah, I guess that's me. I don't know what else to say.
That's awesome. I think one of the other things that you had written down when you were like filling out the information to come on here, and that we had talked about when we were together in Austin, was that you like a good chai latte.
I do. Yes, pretty much so.
Yeah. Do you have like a particular way that you like do you make them at home, or is it like your like go out drink?
Yeah, no, it's usually my go out drink. I've just started trying to make them at home. And like the Tazo has a good like chai concentrate that you can make your own latte. I've been kind of trying to make my own blend and see how that works. And I'm not really happy with one yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, when you do, let me know, because I've been doing the same thing. I like always have like I love a chai latte, and I like will get one whenever I'm out. But it's hard. I feel like it's harder to make at home the same way.
It is. It's hard. Yeah.
And recently, I was like, oh, like a couple weeks ago, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try to make my own syrup and like see how it goes. And it wasn't too bad, but I was like, it could have some improvements. So
yeah. I have some friends who they run a coffee shop, and they know that I have ordered before I even like before they even see me, because I
Yep.
always order a chocolate chai.
Okay.
Um, so like a chai latte with 2 pumps of chocolate syrup or mocha or whatever, like that's my
Fun.
signature drink. And
I
they're
love
like,
that.
nobody else orders that. It's just you.
I
So
don't think I've ever heard of anybody else ordering that, so that makes sense. That's
yeah,
cool. That's fun.
the random stroke of genius, and now it's my favorite drink.
Yes, I love it. And that's so awesome. One other question that I have for you to kind of like get to know you a little bit better for myself and for listeners is what's one like rhythm or ritual that you swear by? Maybe just like in this season or in
Yeah.
another time too could be fine.
Being 2 months postpartum with a 2-year-old,
Yeah.
um,
There's
there's a
probably
lot
not a
of,
lot of
I mean, my 2-year-old thrives off of routine.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
um, during my daughter's first nap of the day, um, I so I put her down for a nap, and then he goes to his room and he has quiet time, and he's not allowed to leave his room. He
Yep.
has like a little alarm clock that turns green when he's allowed to leave.
Yes.
And then I read my Bible during that time.
Nice.
And if I don't do that, like it just screws up the whole rest of the day. So I need that
Yeah.
time in God's word to just ground me and whatever. And then I'll usually have extra time that I go do the dishes or mop the floor or something quick that I can't do when my son is running around.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
yeah.
I love that. That's a great one.
So our morning quiet time, that's our ritual.
I love that. That's so good. Awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about what led you into, I know you work with your husband's construction business, but today we're going to talk more about your doula work. Tell me a little bit more about like what led you into that work, and more about your story with that.
Yeah, it's a little complicated. I was a doula before I was ever a mom, before I was ever pregnant, even the first time. I wanted to be in birth work starting at like 9 years old. Um, so my parents' best friends had their baby in our house when I was 9.
Okay.
Um, He was born in my parents' bedroom. I wasn't allowed to see the birth, and I was sorely disappointed. But they let me come in right after he was born and got to watch the midwives weigh him, and I got to see his placenta and different things. And I was hooked on birth from that point on.
I love that.
Um, and somehow in my little kid brain, midwives and OBGYNs were the same thing. So I decided I was
Okay.
going to college to be a doctor. And at 12, I decided I was going to be a doctor.
Uh-huh.
And I did 3 semesters of pre-med in college, and I hated every second of it.
Oh man.
So I did not become a doctor. Um, and eventually, through just a myriad of circumstances, I discovered doulas and what a doula is. And so I took my doula training in 2020, like right when the world was closing down.
Yeah.
And I did my first birth with 2 masks and a face shield on,
Oh
and
wow.
was required to wear gloves. And um, they told my client that she had to wear a mask. She did not wear a mask. And that
Yeah.
was like something we had to advocate for because she couldn't breathe through
Oh yeah.
contractions with the mask
Uh-huh.
on.
For
And
sure.
it was a whole mess. But that baby just turned 5, and I feel like so old.
That's so crazy.
I was such a baby doula back then, like
Yeah.
brand new, newlywed. I'd been married 9 months, or no, I'd been married 5 months at that point. So like I
Yeah.
was brand new.
Yes.
Um, and then yeah, so I knew I loved birth, but I didn't really know where in birth I fit. Um,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then at the end of 2020, like the Sunday after Thanksgiving, we found out that we were pregnant. Oh, and I guess back up before that even, um, when we first got married, everybody's like, well, you need to go on birth control because you don't want
Right.
kids right away.
Right.
And so we got married in March of 2019. So I guess I lied. We hadn't been married 5 months. We'd been married a year and five
A
months.
year in fact. That's
There we go.
fine.
So I did the whole birth control thing and like started that in January of 2019.
Hmm.
And by August of 2019, I was like, this is making me crazy. And I think I'm
Yeah.
dying. And like, this
Yeah.
is just not good. And so a friend told me about the book, Taking Charge of Your Fertility.
Hmm.
And I read it and I quit birth control cold turkey in the middle of a pack, which you're not supposed to do. But I was like, I'm done
Not
with it.
ideal,
I can't do this
but yep,
anymore.
absolutely.
And I told my husband I'm quitting and we might have a baby right away because I don't really know what I'm doing with this cycle charting thing yet,
Yeah,
but I can't be on this any longer. And he was
yeah,
like, okay,
yeah,
well, if God gives us a baby, then he gives us a baby. And if he doesn't yet, then that's fine too. And so we were actively avoiding
yeah.
um, for another year. So we started trying for our first baby in September of 2020. We got pregnant that November and found
Hmm.
out the day or the Sunday after Thanksgiving. And because I had been charting, I knew that I was pregnant while we were at my in-laws for Thanksgiving. But I was like, I'm not taking a pregnancy test while we're at my in-laws' house. That's weird.
Yeah.
So we waited until we got home, and we got home like late Saturday night, and I took a test at like 5 a.m. Sunday morning. And sure
Hmm.
enough, it was blazing positive. And I ran into our room and shake the pregnancy test in my husband's face. And he's like, what does this mean? I said, it means we're having a baby. And well, that wasn't quite God's plan for us. Um, so we just went into pregnancy just blissful and
Yeah,
naive and unaware of
of
anything.
course.
And
Yeah.
like I was a doula, so I knew quite a bit, but they don't teach you anything about early pregnancy in doula trainings. They only teach you about
No,
end of
yeah,
pregnancy and birth. So
yeah.
I had no clue what to expect from early pregnancy. I had this idea that maybe I wanted a home birth, but I didn't really know anything yet and whatever. My husband wasn't really on board with the home birth idea. And also, our state doesn't give licenses to home birth midwives, so we would have
Oh,
to go
right.
across
Yep.
state borders if we wanted a home birth. So I was kind of exploring those options, at 5 weeks pregnant, because that's the type of person that I am,
Right,
that
right, right,
has to
right.
know
With
all
all
the
that
answers right
excitement.
now.
Yeah, right, for sure.
We sat in bed the morning that we found out we were pregnant and bought Christmas gifts for all of our family on Amazon, like immediately that morning. And we were like, we're going to tell our family that we're pregnant for Christmas. It'll be so fun. And
Yes,
we couldn't
yes.
wait. Well, 3 days before Christmas, I had just a tiny little bit of spotting, which, being a doula, I knew could be normal to have a little bit
Right,
of spotting at the beginning of pregnancy because, your uterus grows, cervix gets irritated, whatever.
for sure.
But I was like, I just am not sure about this and I would rather be safe than sorry. So I called the OB's office and I was like, hey, I'm not a patient there, but I'm pregnant and I don't know what's going on. I'm having a little bit of spotting. And so they scheduled an ultrasound for the very next day. Um, so based on all my charting, and everything, I knew that
Yeah,
I should be uh 7 weeks and 5 days when I went in.
yeah.
And I remember the OB was pregnant. She was like 8 months pregnant.
Hmm.
And I remember telling her, like, I'm having a little bit of spotting and I know it's probably nothing, but I'm just here for some peace of mind. And she's like, yeah, that's normal. Spotting can be normal, whatever. They turned on the ultrasound machine and I immediately knew something was wrong. That baby was way too small and I
Yeah,
didn't see a heartbeat. And so they confirmed, then you're probably losing this baby. And I said, okay, what are the chances that the baby's just measuring early?
yeah,
And what are my chance? And I really didn't have much of a chance at all.
yeah.
But I didn't want to make any big decisions. And they hadn't let my husband in with me because COVID.
Right,
So
right.
I didn't want to make any big decisions. So I went home and we cried the whole week of Christmas. And my
Yeah,
in-laws came in the very next day for Christmas. They were spending it with us. And I'm thankful for that because my mother-in-law and my sisters-in-law were just able to take over everything and just let me
yeah.
do what I
Just,
needed to do.
yeah.
So we grieved for that whole week. Didn't really know what was going on. And long story short, it took another 3 weeks for me to deliver the baby. Um,
Yeah.
so I didn't like I carried a dead baby for weeks and
Hmm.
finally delivered on January 6th, 2021. So like went
Oh,
over the whole new year and everything
oh my
and
goodness.
um pregnant but not, and it was
Yeah,
just so complicated and weird
for sure.
and no one told me what to expect, and I ended up passing out from blood loss and going to the
Oh my
ER. And
goodness. Yes.
then they wouldn't let my husband into the ER because COVID.
Oh.
And so, hey, you're okay. And so we had a whole, like, I delivered my baby alone in the ER
Mm-hmm.
with doctors and nurses and not my husband, and definitely not the way that I had envisioned this birth, you know?
Right. Right.
And um, I found out as time went on and I got my charts back and things that there was no informed consent on anything. They didn't even give me information, and they lied to me about what they were doing. And they did procedures that I had never consented to in
Mm,
the ER.
that's
And
horrible.
so that was just like wrecked my view of all the medical world.
Yeah,
and
right. Absolutely.
and my husband too, like both of us were just very disillusioned with anything medical because the people who were supposed to do all the right things didn't.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was alive. They saved my life, supposedly. But other
Hmm.
than that, like, they didn't do anything right. Um, and I digress on that. But we immediately went into, okay, when can we try again?
Right.
And so as soon as like my post-birth bleeding stopped, then I
Right.
started um charting again and preparing to conceive again. And it took like 2 months for me to even ovulate after miscarriage, which some people ovulate immediately after, some people it
Right.
takes up to like 6 months, and
Right.
it's complicated.
Yeah. Yep.
So I ovulated 2 months after, and then for the next year plus, my cycles were super irregular. And
Mm,
like I would have some 50-day cycles and I'd have some 20-day cycles and everything in
yeah.
between. And
Yep.
I just could not get things to be normal.
Yeah.
And um, I, during that time, I'm pretty sure that I had two more miscarriages. But I don't have any proof of them
Yeah.
because with all of my pregnancies, I haven't gotten a positive test until several days after my period is due. So
Okay.
both of those, what I think were pregnancies, my temperature was high for 19 or 20 days.
Mm-hmm.
And if your temperature is high for 18 or more days, then you're probably pregnant.
Yeah.
But I
Yep.
didn't have a positive test. I didn't have anything to, quote unquote, prove that I was
Right.
pregnant.
Right.
And then I would have a very extra heavy period with lots of
Mm,
extra cramping. And so
yeah.
in my mind, it's miscarriage.
Yeah.
Um, but it's complicated to even say, like, I think I have three babies in heaven, but I'm not sure.
I know, right?
It's
Yeah.
just
It's
such a
it's hard.
weird,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
such a weird place to be.
Yeah.
Um, and so I went to multiple doctors asking for hormone testing and asking
Yep.
for help to figure out what was going on. And
Right.
they all told me I had to have three proven miscarriages before they would test my hormones.
Mm.
And which is ridiculous.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
And I was like,
For
well, I
sure.
think I've had three, and I could almost prove, like using my charts, I could prove that I've had three
Right.
miscarriages.
Right.
And my doctors, or all the doctors I saw here in North Carolina, like wouldn't even look at my charts with me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so about March of 2022, yeah, March, April-ish, my parents moved and they were living in Idaho at the time, and they started seeing um, a a new naturopathic doctor, and she was just talking to my mom about her children and trying to get to know her. And so
Mm-hmm.
my mom told her about all of my struggles.
Yeah.
And this doctor was like, hey, could she send me her charts? And mom's like, I don't know if she's charting. And and at that point I was pretty sure I had low progesterone because my
Yep.
luteal phases were like 9 days.
Yep.
um, and was pretty sure I had high estrogen and different things like that. So,
Yeah.
and I had told my mom all of this, and my mom's like, "How do you know that?" And I was like, "Based on my charts." And she's like, "What charts?" So my mom had never been taught any of this stuff. So I've taught my
Yeah.
mom a lot about charting and
Mm-hmm.
like knowing your body's signals and stuff. And even
Absolutely.
as she's going through like premenopause and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and it's it's funny to be on the teaching end with my mom, but
I know,
that's what we're
absolutely.
doing. So anyway, mom told this doctor all of this stuff, and I sent my charts over, and she looked and she's like, yep, she has high progesterone and low, or high estrogen and low progesterone.
Yeah,
And so this doctor in Idaho prescribed me a progesterone supplement.
I love it.
And I live in North Carolina.
Yep.
So I got on this progesterone oil supplement thing and in April, and I got pregnant in June with the baby that is my 2-year-old now.
Yeah,
So it was like it was a healthy pregnancy. Everything was
yeah.
textbook perfect with him. I did have a home birth in a different state
Yep.
at a friend's house. Um, and actually the midwife that delivered my son and my daughter, her nephew was the baby who was born in our house when I was 9.
Oh, that's so
So
cool.
like it was just this cool full circle
Yes.
moment of, and so he was born like perfect, no issues whatsoever. And it
Hmm.
was super cool, like after almost 2 years of trying and 3 losses, to have this rainbow baby in my arms. And his name means the God who heals. Um, and I didn't know that when we picked out the name. And then I looked up the
Oh,
meaning of his name
wow.
and I was like, it's
Yeah.
perfect for our story.
I love
And
that.
he just fits that so well. So then I went into like, okay, for the first time in years, I'm not going to be trying for a baby and I'm not
Yeah.
going to be pregnant. And like,
Right.
what are we doing? So I was like, I need to learn cycle charting in a whole new way because now we're going to be avoiding pregnancy. Um, and I did, and we successfully avoided for 19 months.
Hmm.
And then I think that's right. And then at the end of September
That
last
math
year,
seems right. Close
yeah,
to it, maybe.
we decided we were going to start trying in the fall of last year for the next baby. And
Yeah.
so, if you know anything about what's happened in Western North Carolina in the last year,
Yes.
um, we had a hurricane that came on September 27th, and I was ovulating on that day. And I looked at my husband and I was like, do we want to try for a baby in the middle of a hurricane?
Why
And he
not?
said, we're not doing anything else.
Yeah.
So we tried for a baby. We tried for the first time, you know, trying for baby number 2, I guess. And we got pregnant immediately, like the very
Uh-huh.
first time we tried. And I was shocked. I was like,
Yeah.
what in the world? But all this cycle charting and like figuring out my hormones and doing things to help my hormones regulate themselves. I'd been seed cycling for like 6 months at that point in different things, and helped me to get pregnant and helped me to have mostly healthy pregnancy. I got chicken pox during pregnancy, so that was weird.
It's
But
so crazy. I remember seeing that and being
yeah,
like, oh my
no one
goodness,
has ever seen,
Sarah.
no one has. My midwife has been practicing for 30 years, and
Yeah.
her consulting physician has been practicing for 40 years, and neither of them had ever seen a pregnant mom get chickenpox before. It's like a
Yeah.
1 in a million chance or something. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
But I did. I got
Yep.
it. Yeah, so she was born 2 months ago,
Yeah.
almost 3 months ago.
That's
So June
awesome.
27th, exactly nine
Yeah.
months after the hurricane.
I love that.
Which
That's so
that was
fun.
another thing with charting. Like I knew that my due date should be June 27th, but then when I
Yeah.
got dating ultrasounds and whatever, they said it was June 22nd.
Yeah.
And so I just went with it. I was like, sure, June 22nd. And she was born June 27th. And I was like, see, I told you so.
I think that is like such a huge, I mean, so much of your story is so like you can tell it's so empowering that you
Yeah.
have this knowledge, but I think like that for a specific part, especially within like speaking of like birth work, like having the knowledge that
Oh,
your due date is going to be so like can be so
yeah.
different,
Yeah.
and that
That was,
therefore like going past 40 weeks,
it's
40
okay.
weeks
Yeah.
is like totally fine. Like even
Yeah.
even if your due date was but correct, like even so, like
Yeah.
that it's just kind of a made up number. Let's take a quick moment for a little brain break and talk about something different. Have you ever wished someone could just sit down with you and magically tell you when you were gonna get your period next? or maybe tell you exactly which days you can and can't get pregnant. That's the beauty of charting. Once you understand your cycle, it stops feeling like this random guessing game and starts feeling like a pattern you can actually trust. I promise it's not as complicated as it might seem. Your body is already giving you all the clues. You just need someone to show you how to read them. That's exactly what I'm doing right now while finishing my Fertility Knowledge Collective certification. I'm still looking for a few clients to work with me for 3 months of online cycle coaching and charting support. We'll meet virtually, review your real life signs like cervical mucus and temperature, and help you build skills you can use for the rest of your life. And as part of my certification process, this round is pay what you can. So if you've ever thought, I just wish someone would guide me, this is your chance. To get in touch with me, either message me on Instagram at cyclical doula or text FKC just so I know that what we're talking about to 854-220-0218. I'll send you the details and we can figure out if this is a good fit for you. Okay, let's get back into the episode.
It is. It's totally made up. I forgot to mention with my son too. We went in for a dating ultrasound with him when I was pregnant with him,
Yeah.
and I hadn't ovulated until day 31 that cycle. So I'd ovulated really, really
Mm-hmm.
late.
Yeah.
And so we went in and they asked me when my last period was, and I told them, and then I was like, but I know I ovulated late.
Yeah.
And so they pull up the ultrasound and they're like, oh, he's way too small for where you should be. And
Mhm.
they said, you're gonna miscarry. So we'll go ahead and schedule your D&C right now. And I was like, no, no, no. I
Oh
know
my
when I ovulated. I
goodness.
know when I conceived. We can see a heartbeat. And they're like,
Yes.
yeah, but you're gonna miscarry because you're dating
That's
2 weeks behind or whatever. And I was like, no,
horrible.
I know my dates. I know that this baby's okay. So
Yeah.
sure enough, we talked him into waiting a week. And we were like, if he's grown a week, then we know everything's
Yeah,
fine.
then it's
And we
fine.
went
Yeah.
back a week later and everything was fine. And I was
Yeah.
like, see, told you so.
That's
But if I
so
hadn't
sad
been
that that's
charting,
right. Like if you didn't have
like
that knowledge. Yeah,
I just can't
that's
even,
crazy.
it just makes me so upset to think of like what would have happened if I hadn't been charting and hadn't known my dates and all of that
I
stuff.
know,
I wouldn't
absolutely.
have my 2-year-old.
I know. That's so bad. I do, yeah. Knowing that, I always recommend like if somebody's like really charting and has day where they like a cycle that they know like ovulation was way closer to day 30 than
Right.
the like day 14 is what otherwise people assume so, is to just count back 14 days from ovulation until
All of that.
GYNs or like
Yeah.
ultrasound techs or whatever
Yeah.
that's when your last menstrual period was, so then they don't, then they use the correct math. But yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about that so much about like how often is that happening that the people are like going in for
Oh,
something and the
I
dating's
think it's
incorrect
really
and
awesome.
we're not
Yeah.
get those women aren't getting the support that they need.
I mean,
Um,
I've heard some really, really horrible stories of moms who have been told that they're miscarrying.
yeah,
And so they take the medication to induce the miscarriage
right.
and they give birth to a baby who has a heartbeat. And like,
Horrible.
I mean, 5, 6, 7, 10-week-old baby with a heartbeat that they just delivered because they were told they were going to
They were
miscarry.
told they were
Baby is
miscarrying.
alive
Yeah.
and healthy,
Yeah.
you know. But then at that point, there's nothing you can do to save the baby. And
No.
so
Yeah.
it's
Breaks my
horrible.
heart. Yeah.
It absolutely breaks my heart.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story. I feel like
Yeah.
more people experience that than is talked about on a regular basis. And I think our society is getting to the point where it's becoming more open, but I think that so many women go through losses similar to
Yeah.
yours or sometimes
Well,
even without the same knowledge.
the statistic is that 1 in 4 pregnancies ends in loss.
Right.
That's the official statistic. But
Right.
all of the midwives and OBs and doulas that I've talked to since COVID, my best guess is that it's half of pregnancies ending in loss since
Yeah.
COVID.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Um, and which is a heartbreaking statistic, but that
It
means that
truly
there are
is.
so many women who are navigating this and going through this alone because nobody knows what to tell them.
Right. And
And
there's not a lot of resources. We don't really know
yeah,
how to talk through grief
no,
well at all.
which is a lot of why I do what I do is because
Yeah.
moms deserve somebody who's been through it and who understands and who can talk through it in a compassionate way with them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, tell me a little bit more about like how you're working with moms
Yeah.
currently.
I mean, it's complicated.
Yeah.
I'm kind of ish trying to take a maternity leave.
Well,
Um,
yeah. So okay, so like your
but
ideal
yeah,
work situation. I totally understand the
yes.
leave part.
And then I haven't done anything in person since I was early pregnant with my daughter,
Yeah.
just because like pregnancy is hard on my body. I don't have
Yeah.
easy pregnancies. And attending births as a doula pregnant is just really, really hard.
I can
So my husband
imagine.
asked me
Yeah.
not to do anyway. That's complicated. So for now, I'm not taking any in-person clients, but I am doing a lot virtually. So I
Yeah.
have a birth class that's specific for moms who are pregnant after a previous loss. So we talk through a lot of like what your potential triggers might be during pregnancy and during
Mm.
birth and combating fear and anxiety because there's a lot of fear when you're pregnant again after
Yeah.
previously losing a baby. And so it's a lot of mindset work, but also just typical like general prep for birth as well. And this
That's
is
good.
what birth looks like, and this is,
Yeah.
what to expect from birth, and
Yeah.
all of those kinds of things too. Um, so that's my main thing right now is that birth class. But then I do offer like virtual coaching. Um, that's a You can text me whenever you want to, and we can set up
Yeah.
Zoom calls if you want to, and just coach you through pregnancy after loss because it's scary and there's lots of anxiety there and all of that. I also offer free virtual support for anyone going through a loss. Um, and it doesn't matter what your gestation is. So it can be anywhere from a 4-week miscarriage to a 41 week, stillbirth, whatever.
Yeah.
But virtual support of helping you know what to expect from labor delivery, as well as grief support in the early days. Um, the so the first session of grief support is free, and after that, it's like a month by month subscription type thing.
Yeah. That's great.
But just texting me and whenever you need it for that grief support. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. What is, if you could like share like one thing, if someone happens to be listening to this that they either are currently experiencing a loss or like might experience a loss in the future, which obviously like I hope on no one, but based on that statistic, a
Yeah.
lot of people do experience it. What's like one thing that like every woman could like have in their back pocket of like knowledge base around like the like labor and delivery part of it? Obviously, it gets different at different gestations, but
It's birth. A
yeah,
loss is a birth.
right,
Um, I think that's something that shocks a lot of people when I tell them is that a loss is still a birth. You still have to give birth.
right,
Even if your loss is as early as 5 weeks, your cervix still dilates, your uterus still contracts, a baby is still born.
yeah,
Um, Earlier losses, the baby will be born at the same time as the placenta. Later losses, you'll still have to deliver a placenta. Like
right,
it still is a birth. And
right,
so if we can talk about it that way, then it helps humanize it and it makes our babies real instead of just
yeah,
saying, I lost a baby as I gave birth to this child.
yeah,
Um, and I don't know, I think it's important to use that kind of terminology, but also as a mom, knowing I gave birth to those babies, um, I don't know, it makes them human.
yeah. That's great. That's a good. Thank you for that correction. That I think that's really good. That's changing the language around it is really important, and therefore empowering to both you as a mother, I'm sure, also like as parents with your spouse, and then also to honor the life of the of your baby as well.
So your baby is a baby. You
Yeah.
gave birth and you are their mom.
Yeah.
No matter how early you delivered that baby, you are their mama and you always will be.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. All right. Let's see. I have a couple of other questions for you, just to kind of like get this conversation going a little bit deeper. Is there one um like myth? We kind of talked about a bunch of them, but is there one like other myth that you want to like debunk around either experiences that you've had or things that you've seen with other people that come up a lot?
And I feel like we've talked about a lot of them.
Yeah, we have.
The, you don't always ovulate on day 14.
Yeah.
And it can save your baby's life if you know your dates.
Hmm.
Um, like quite literally.
Yeah.
Um, that loss is still a birth. That's another myth. I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's a myth or just a thing that people don't think about.
for sure.
Um, yeah. Um, I don't know. I can't think of any.
Okay. Yeah, those are some
Sorry.
big ones. All right. Perfect. Sounds good. What about like what legacy or impact do you hope that your work with women is leaving behind?
That there's hope.
Yeah.
That because I think after loss, it's really scary to hold on to any kind of hope.
Mm,
And when you're
absolutely.
pregnant after loss, it's terrifying to hope that this baby will be born.
Hmm.
But hope is so much bigger than another baby. Hope is
Yeah,
so much bigger than your fertility journey. So if moms can come away from working with me just knowing that there is hope in their circumstances and yeah, that there's hope, then I've done my job.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's such a huge part of I mean, I think just like in general, like as people, we can use more hope. But yeah, absolutely within your work, that's amazing. And I think I from what I know about you and what you're doing, you're definitely doing that. I can see that it's coming through with the people that you're working with for sure. Yeah, let's see. What else do you like as you share your story and as you work with people and with moms? Is there other things that you would kind of lead people to? I know you had that wonderful interaction with your mom's naturopath and like finding that information to get progesterone and things like that. And there are other resources of doctors and stuff out there who have that knowledge and can and lead that. But is there other things that you as you were charting or maybe that you've seen other people chart that feels like help like advocate or like get more information or understanding their own bodies?
Yeah. Uh, I learned when we were preparing to try to conceive
Yeah.
with our 2-month-old, I learned a lot about seed cycling.
Yeah.
Um, and like I think that that might be part of why we got pregnant so quickly this time
Hmm.
was because my hormones were balanced because I was seed cycling. So I would look up seed cycling and learn about that. And my chiropractor knew a lot about that and she helped me a lot with it.
That's
Um,
great.
but our chiropractor is a husband and wife. They're married, and they're both chiropractors. But the wife is an NFP instructor as
Yep.
well. So I've learned a lot from her even after like at this point 7 years of charting my own
Yeah.
cycle. Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, just even if you're not working with someone like professionally, just finding someone else who understands charting can be
Yeah,
really
it
helpful
can be
too.
helpful.
Because I did it alone for like 4 years. I didn't know anybody else who was doing it,
Hmm.
and I didn't have anybody to talk to. And then all of a sudden, all these women showed up around me that they were like, "We're charting too," and I was like, "What?" Um,
I love that.
but just my world and my circles just weren't the type of like the women I knew weren't the type of women that we could talk about things like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
So having someone in your corner who understands what you're doing and can help
absolutely.
you interpret your charts
For
when
sure.
you have a really wonky cycle or something can that can
Hmm.
be really helpful. or who can go, you're in late luteal, so don't do something stupid.
Yep. Make a different life choice. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, I like that community aspect of it can be so helpful because I think like that it's hard because like this is my field and so I feel like more people know about it than actually do when I have an actual conversation with the average person who's
Right.
not already in it. But yeah, that having that community of just like what is going on with my cycle and like how else can we
Yeah.
support cycles and then also just that knowledge base of like well what happens if we want to change intentions
Right.
and all of that can
I
be so
knew
helpful.
I knew just one lady, and she ended up being my doula with this baby.
Oh, that's so
But
awesome.
when I was trying to figure out, like, with those two pregnancies, did I
Hmm.
have a loss or was this just really weird? And
Right,
I wasn't her. And I was like, okay, look, help me decide, did I actually ovulate on this day? Have my
right,
temperatures actually been high for this many days? Like, all of that. And just having somebody to bounce it off of when I was so emotional about things was really
absolutely.
helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And absolutely. If your luteal phases were typically around 9 days and then you had like an 18, 19,
Yeah,
20 day, like,
it
oh,
was super wonky.
for sure.
Yeah.
Man.
Once I figured out the high estrogen and low progesterone thing, my
Yeah,
luteal phases spread out to like 12 days too,
right.
which is a really,
Absolutely. Because
like,
that's when
felt like such a
progesterone
huge
is,
win to me.
I
The
know,
first time my
it's
luteal phase was 12
amazing.
days, I was like, I did it! I did
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, and I think like that's one of those things where so often it's like in theory like such an easy fix, right? You were just taking a progesterone supplement to aid in that luteal phase. But if you hadn't heard that, like
it! Right.
you
And
there
people
could
wouldn't
have
test it for
been
me.
right, there could have been
Yeah.
much longer of a period that you wouldn't have been able to
Yeah.
get pregnant and all of those things. So like that's it's one of those things where I'm like always telling women like, oh, like how long is your luteal phase or like what else do you know about your cycle that we can kind of dive
Yeah.
into for
I mean, it
that
took me
aspect of it
probably
too.
9 months to even figure out, I think this might be what it is. But
Yeah,
then I couldn't figure out what to do to fix it.
right,
So,
right.
you know, it's so complicated. But
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, that's great. All right, I want to end with what is filling your cup lately? That can either be personal or professional.
I mean, literally, chai lattes are filling my cup.
That's good. I love that.
Yeah. My husband and I, like, so we live on a mountain that all of our neighbors are family, like,
Love
not our
it.
family, they're family of our landlord.
Oh,
And
I love
so it's
it.
all our landlord's parents and his aunts and uncles and his cousins, and he doesn't live here. We do.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
but there's like a mile-ish down the road from us, there's this big open field that like is kind of community family land.
Okay.
And so we've been going on walks down there in the evenings and like late summer walks around the field when there's a river right there and there's wildflowers growing. Like that is filling my cup. And watching the
I love
sunset from
that.
there and
Yes.
watching my 2-year-old run and play with the dog and with his daddy and like carrying my 2-month-old in her baby wrap. It just fills my soul so much. And it's such
I
a
can imagine.
such a fun, beautiful thing to do with my family. So that's
That's great.
filling my cup for sure.
That's wonderful. Well, it's been a joy talking with you. Where can people find you if they want to reach out? And I'll put all this stuff in the show notes.
Yeah, I am really active on Instagram. So my handle
Perfect.
is at pal, like pregnancy after loss, pal doula. And DM me on there and I'll answer pretty quickly, probably.
Awesome. That's
So,
great. Well, good. Is there anything else you want to share before we sign off?
I don't think so. Thanks so much for having me on. It's fun.
Absolutely. It was great chatting with you. Thanks so much, Sarah.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks for spending this time with me on the Cyclical Doula podcast. If today's episode helped you feel more connected to your cycle or empowered on your fertility journey, I'd love for you to share it with a friend or leave a review. It really helps this podcast reach more people like you. And if you're ready to dive deeper, join my free Red Circle community. It's where we go beyond the podcast with exclusive resources, live Q&A sessions, and support for charting, planning, and thriving in your cyclical life. Visit the show notes to join the Red Circle today. I can't wait to see you there. Until next time, keep listening to your body. It's telling you so much more than you realize.
Welcome to the space where cycles breathe, where the real raw life of a mama leads. From motherhood's highs to charting the low, your body's story is the star of the show. Matriarch hearts, cycles that speak, charting the truth in every peak. This is the cyclical Doula sound, where body wisdom is always found. Matriarch hearts, cycles that speak, charting the truth in every peak. This is the cyclical Doula sound, where body wisdom is always found. Matriarch hearts, matriarch hearts, cycles that speak, charting the truth in every peak. This is the cyclical Doula sound, where body wisdom is always found. Matriarch hearts, cycles that speak, charting the truth in every peak. This is the cyclical Doula sound, where body wisdom is always found. Matriarch hearts, matriarch cycles that speak, charting the truth in every peak. This is the cyclical Doula sound, where body wisdom is always found. Matriarch hearts, matriarch hearts, cycles that speak, charting the truth in every peak. This is the cyclical Doula sound, where body wisdom is always found.